Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right into a pretty huge debate in the photography world, especially for pros. The brand new Canon EOS R1 versus the current Speed King, the EOS R3.
Yeah, these are serious machines. We're talking cameras built specifically to capture things that happen incredibly fast. Think, birds in flight, peak moments in sports.
Absolutely. And the buzz is intense. Are we looking at a true revolution with the R1 or more of an evolution from the R3? That's kind of the core question.
Right. It's all about speed, how confident you feel using it, and frankly, whether the extra cost gets you something you actually need. Image quality itself isn't really the debate here.
Exactly. So we've dug through the specs, the first impressions, the comparisons, all the source material we could find. Our mission today, to really pull apart the key differences. We want to figure out, where Canon put that extra money in the R1 and help you decide if those upgrades are worth it for your work. Okay, let's unpack this. So before we dive into all the shiny new R1 features, maybe let's just set the scene with the R3. It's already an incredible camera. Why are these high-speed bodies so crucial for professionals anyway?
Well, it really boils down to timing, doesn't it? In professional photography, milliseconds matter a lot. The difference between a decent, usable shot and that absolutely perfect, once-in-a-lifetime image, it's often down to catching the exact instant.
Yeah, you blink, you miss it.
Exactly. These cameras are designed to react faster than humanly possible. They take your own reaction time partly out of the equation, which is huge when things are unpredictable. It stops being about if the gear can keep up and more about your skill.
And looking at the sources, what's really striking is just how much these two cameras actually share. They're built on a very, very similar foundation.
Oh, absolutely. The core imaging pipeline is identical. They both use that same 24-megapixel, full-frame stacked CMOS sensor, same resolution 6,000 by 4,000 pixels.
Which means, right off the bat, we can say the R1 isn't going to give you, magically sharper photos than the R3, correct?
Correct. Pixel for pixel, the image quality potential is the same.
Yeah.
So this whole comparison isn't about resolution or detail.
Yeah.
It's purely about speed, autofocus performance, and workflow. How fast can you capture those identical pixels?
And they both have that really important in-body image stabilization, the IBS. Helps smooth things out when you're hand-holding, especially with longer lenses.
Yep, and the autofocus system shares the same fundamental tech too. It's that hybrid phase detection system. Han 153 AF points covering nearly the whole frame. Both have excellent eye-sensing AF for people and animals.
And that low-light performance is pretty amazing on both, down to 96 EV.
It is. For context, NAGA 6 EV is incredibly dark, like less than moonlight, almost pitch black. So yeah, they can both lock focus in situations where you can barely see. Think indoor sports under bad lighting, or maybe some wildlife stuff at dawn or dusk.
Okay, and for video shooters, any big differences there in the core specs?
Not really in the fundamental capabilities. Both offer that high-end 12-bit RAW video.
Yeah. Internally
or externally, they top out at 6K 60 frames per second, which is fantastic. Or you can do 4K at 120. Or even 1080p at 240 for super slow motion. Same 4.2.2 color sampling.
Build quality too, right? Weather sealing, sensor curtains, same battery.
Identical. Both use the robust LPE19 battery. Both are built like tanks with weather sealing. Canon knows their pro audience expects that level of reliability.
So, okay, if they share so much, where does that price difference come from? The R3 launched around, $5,400, and the R1 is coming in at $6,800. That's a $1,400 jump for cameras with the same sensor and basic video specs. What are you paying for?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or, the $1,400 question. And the answer seems to be processing power and sheer unadulterated speed. Canon basically focused all the R1 upgrades on removing bottlenecks and capturing and handling data.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk processing first. The R1 has a new setup.
It does. It's got the standard DIGIC processor, which the R3 also has, but the R1 adds a second chip, a dedicated DIGIC accelerator.
An accelerator, what does that actually translate to in real-world shooting?
Think of it like having a coprocessor specifically for autofocus calculations and subject recognition. The idea is that in really complex scenes, maybe a runner weaving through defenders or bird against a busy background, the accelerator helps the main processor make faster, more accurate decisions about what to track and how to predict its movement.
So it's not just faster focus, it's smarter focus, especially when things get messy.
That seems to be the promise, yeah. Better sticking power in cluttered environments where the R3 might occasionally get confused or hesitate for a split second.
Okay, smarter brain. But the feature that seems to be grabbing all the headlines is this pre-release burst mode on the R1. Explain that one.
Yes. This is arguably the single biggest differentiator. It's pretty revolutionary for Canon. The camera is constantly buffering images when you half press the shutter. Then, when you fully press it to take the shot, it saves not only that moment, but also the images from up to half a second before you press the button.
Wait, half a second before?
Yep, 0.5 seconds. It effectively eliminates your own physical reaction time from the equation.
Wow. Okay, that changes things, because we've all been there, right?
Okay.
You see the perfect moment, the dive, the jump, the goal. Your brain registers it, tells your finger to push.
And by the time the signal gets there and the shutter fires, the absolute peak instant is gone. You get the moment after the moment.
But the R1 has already captured it, sitting there in the buffer.
Precisely. You're essentially telling the camera, record what just happened, and it does. For things that are sudden and unpredictable, a bird taking off, an athlete's explosive move, maybe even a lightning strike if you're faster, this could be huge.
I can see how for certain types of pros, that feature alone might justify the price jump. It's like insurance against missing the unmissable.
It absolutely could be. And to handle all that pre-capture data, plus the regular shooting, Canon had to boost the overall speed and buffer significantly.
Right, the burst rate itself. The R3 was already doing a crazy 30 frames per second with the electronic shutter.
And the R1 pushes that to 40 frames per second.
Okay, 40 FPS. Now, pushback time. Is 40 that much better than 30 in practice? 30 FPS is already capturing an insane amount of data. Are we just getting smaller and smaller slices of time for that extra $1,400?
That's a fair question. The jump from, say, 10 FPS to 20 is massive, from 30 to 40. The visual difference in capturing motion might be subtle for many things, but it's not just the peak speed, it's how long you can maintain it. And that's where the buffer comes in.
Ah, the buffer depth. How do they compare there?
This is a huge difference. With the right CS Express card, the R1 can apparently shoot over 1,000 RAW files continuously at 40 FPS. That's, 25 seconds straight?
25 seconds of continuous 40 FPS RAW shooting. That's wild.
It really is. Compare that to the R3, which handles around 420 frames at 30 FPS, so maybe 14 seconds. Still amazing, but less than half the duration.
Okay, that difference, 25 seconds versus 14, that feels significant for covering longer action sequences, like a full play in football or a long sprint.
Definitely. And that capability is directly linked to the memory card setup. The R1 has 2 CF Express Type B slots. The R3 has 1 CF Express Type B, but the second slot is a slower SD UHS-2.
So the R1 avoids any potential bottleneck by having 2 identical super-fast slots.
Exactly. You get maximum speed writing to both cards, or you can back up instantly without slowing down. For a pro workflow, that dual CF Express setup is a big plus.
Let's shift to how you actually see what you're shooting, the viewfinder, the EVF. If you're tracking things at 40 FPS, you need a great view.
And Canon seems to really prioritize this on the R1. The specs are, spectacular. The resolution jumps massively, from 5.76 million dots on the R3 to 9.44 million dots on the R1.
Wow, nearly double the resolution. What does that mean practically?
It means a much clearer, more detailed view. When you're trying to confirm critical focus on a small, distant subject moving quickly, like that bird's eye we mentioned, that extra resolution makes it much easier to be absolutely certain you've nailed it. Less guesswork.
And there's magnification, too.
Yeah, it's higher on the R1, 0.90x magnification versus 0.76x on the R3. It basically means the viewfinder image looks larger, filling more of your vision. It makes tracking feel more immersive, potentially less tiring over a long day.
Makes sense. Any other key technical edges for the R1 we should mention?
A couple of smaller things. The R1 technically has no video recording time limit, whereas the R3 is limited to 6 hours, though frankly 6 hours is usually plenty. The flash sync speed is slightly faster on the R1, 1320s versus 1250s. Minor, but could matter for some studio or outdoor flash work.
Okay, so the R1 definitely packs a punch with the new processor, that game-changing pre-release burst, the faster FPS, the massive buffer, dual fast card slots, and a significantly better viewfinder.
That sums up the core advantages pretty well.
But, and this is a big but, we have to talk about the R3 again, because despite all the R1 tech, the R3 is still an incredible camera, and it's, cheaper.
It absolutely is. And this is where the decision gets really practical for most people, even professionals. You have to weigh those R1 advantages against the very real cost saving with the R3.
The R3's list price was $5,400, but now that it's been out for a while, you can often find it for less, right? Maybe closer to $4,000, especially during sales.
Yeah, street prices around $4,000 are common. Compare that to the R1 launching at $6,800. We're potentially talking about a $2,800 difference. That's significant.
$2,800. That's not chump change. What else could you buy with that?
Exactly. That's the heart of the value argument for the R3. You could take that $2,800 saving and invest it in truly top-tier professional lenses, a Canon L series RF lens, for instance.
And a better lens arguably makes a bigger difference to your final image quality than going from 30 to 40 FPS, right?
For many situations, absolutely. Better glass gives you better sharpness, contrast, low-light performance, bokeh, things that impact every single photo you take. An R3 with a stellar lens will likely produce better overall images than an R1 with a mediocre lens.
So the R3 becomes the smarter financial move if it allows you to build out the rest of your kit with better glass.
For a lot of working photographers, yes. Plus, let's be honest, 30 frames per second is still ridiculously fast. Unless you're shooting the absolute most demanding niche subjects, maybe tiny erratic insects or bats in the dark, 30 FPS is more than enough to capture peak action in sports, wildlife, you name it.
You're probably not missing critical moments purely because you only have 30 FPS instead of 40.
It's unlikely for most typical action scenarios. The R3 is already overkill in the speed department for many.
What about handling? You mentioned weight earlier. Is the R3 noticeably lighter?
It is. Slightly. The R3 comes in around 115 grams. The R1 is about 100 grams heavier at 1,115 grams. 100 grams might not sound like much.
I'd add a big telephoto lens and hold it all day.
Exactly. When you're shooting for 8, 10, 12 hours, especially handheld or using the vertical grip a lot, every bit of weight saving helps reduce fatigue. That 100 grams could actually make a difference by the end of a long assignment.
Good point. And there's also the reliability factor. The R3 isn't brand new.
Right. It launched back in late 2021. It's been out in the field, used by thousands of pros in every imaginable condition. It's battle-tested. Its firmware has been refined. You know exactly what you're getting, a proven, reliable workhorse.
Whereas the R1, as exciting as it is still the newcomer. It needs time to prove that same level of long-term dependability in the real world.
Precisely. There's a certain comfort factor in buying a tool with a well-established track record, especially when your livelihood depends on it. The R3, at its current price, still offers just a phenomenal package of speed, features, and proven reliability.
So what does this all mean? Let's try and crystallize this decision for someone listening.
Okay, first off, remember, image quality from the sensor. Identical. 24 megapixels, same look. So the choice isn't about making prettier pictures. It's about capturing them under pressure.
Right. So the R1 seems like the choice if, what? If money is absolutely no object and you need every last drop of performance.
Maybe, but more specifically, choose the R1 if you regularly shoot extremely fast, extremely unpredictable action. Things where that half-second pre-release buffer will genuinely save shots you are currently missing because of reaction time lag.
So if missed moments due to reaction speed are costing you money or professional opportunities, the R1's pre-release is probably the killer app.
That, and if you genuinely need the absolute maximum burst speed, that 40 FPS combined with that incredibly deep buffer for very long continuous sequences, think maybe trackside at a motorsports event, covering a whole pass without letting go.
Okay. And who should stick with or choose the R3?
Choose the R3 if you need truly professional speed and performance, but want significantly better value for your money. If 30 FPS is fast enough for the action you shoot, and for most, it absolutely is. The R3 delivers that performance proven over years.
And crucially, if you want to take the considerable savings, potentially close to $3,000, and invest that money where it might make an even bigger impact on your images, top quality lenses.
That's the key trade-off for many. The R3 lets you build a more complete, high-quality system for the same total investment.
So it really feels like there isn't a wrong answer here, is there? Both are phenomenal cameras pushing the boundaries.
Not at all. They're both incredible tools. The R1 is the absolute bleeding edge, designed to solve very specific problems for the most demanding users. The R3 is the slightly more mature, incredibly capable, and much better value proposition for a wider range of professionals. Both are smart investments.
Okay, final thought then. We've talked specs, features, value, but maybe the core question comes down to something less tangible.
Like confidence.
Yeah, exactly. The R1, with that pre-release burst, offers a kind of ultimate confidence, the knowledge that your own human delay is removed as a factor. How much is that specific confidence worth to you, financially and professionally?
Especially when weighed against the R3, which already provides immense capability and confidence, just without that one magic trick, but for thousands less.
It forces you to really analyze how you miss shots, doesn't it? Is it gear limitation or reaction time?
It does. Ultimately, whether you land on the R1 or the R3, you're buying the assurance that the camera itself is almost certainly not going to be what holds you back. And maybe that peace of mind is the real product here.